You don't need that car as much as your brother does. That was the first thing my mother said to me. Not hello? Not are you okay? Just that sentence delivered like a verdict while I stood in an empty parking spot staring at the oil stain where my car should have been. My 2020 Honda Civic. My first new car. 4 years of payments. 4 years of skipped vacations and taking extra shifts just to make the monthly loan. Mine. I tightened my grip on my phone. Mom, what do you mean? We gave it to Darren, she said, sounding almost cheerful. He needs it more. He has a new job. And he can't get there without reliable transportation. I felt my stomach drop. You gave him my car, honey. Don't be dramatic. Her voice softened. But not in a comforting way, in that patronizing tone she always used when she thought I was overreacting. You're responsible. You can manage without it. Manage. As if losing the only car I owned was a mild inconvenience. As if the bus system could magically carry me across the city for my 6 a.m. shifts. As if everything I'd worked for meant nothing. I did not give permission. I said, my voice shaking despite how hard I tried to keep it steady. You would have, my mother replied, if you weren't being so selfish. Selfish. That's what she chose to call me, not Darren, the man who had totaled 3 cars. 2. During drunken joyrides my parents quietly paid to cover up. Not my father, the one who enabled every terrible decision Darren had ever made. No. Me. The daughter who worked, saved, paid her bills, and built her life without expecting anything from them. I took a breath so deep it hurt. Mom, where is my car right now? With Darren. She said, on his way to his interview. I hung up. Then I did what no one in my family expected me to do. I called the police. 就by医师 What's your emergency? I'd like to report a stolen vehicle, I said, staring at the empty space where my car should have been. My car was taken without my consent. And I know exactly who took it. For the first time in my life, I chose myself over guilt, over obligation, and over the family that never chose me back. Thank you for staying with me through this beginning. If any part of my story feels familiar to your own experiences, your gentle support through a like, a comment, a share, or even a quiet subscribe truly means more to me than I can express. I appreciate you deeply. When I hung up with the 911 dispatcher, I felt the first wave of adrenaline fade, and the shakiness hit me all at once. My car wasn't just missing. It had been taken by the very people who were supposed to protect me, and now I had to stand in the middle of my office parking lot pretending I wasn't about to fall apart. Officer Bennett arrived 20 minutes later. A calm, professional woman with a notebook and a steady voice. She walked with purpose, like someone who'd seen situations like mine more times than she cared to admit. Are you Morgan Hale? She asked. Yes. That's me. Let's go over the details. I handed her everything, the title, registration, insurance documents, photos of my payments, even the spare key receipt that proved the car was solely mine. She reviewed each page, nodding. This is straightforward, she said. The vehicle is registered to you alone, and you didn't grant permission. That's auto theft. Hearing those words made my chest tighten, but not from guilt. From relief? Someone finally believed me. My phone rang while Officer Bennett wrote her report. I didn't recognize the number, but I knew exactly who it was. Don't answer if you don't want to, she said without looking up. But I did answer. Morgan, my father snapped before I could speak. What the hell is wrong with you? I swallowed. Dad. Where is my car? You're making a fool of yourself. Darren needs that car. You don't. It's my car, I said, breathing through my tightening throat. Mine. You've always been dramatic. He shot back. You're punishing your brother for trying to get his life together. I'm protecting my property. I replied. And myself. You drop that report. He ordered. Or, you're out of this family. I stared at the pavement beneath my shoes. I never left the family. Dad. The family left me. I hung up and blocked the number. Not even 2 minutes later, my phone began buzzing relentlessly. Aunt Linda, Cousin Kyla, Uncle Rob, all telling me I was selfish, cruel, ungrateful. Not one of them asked how I'd get home from work that day. Not one asked if I had money for a rideshare. Not one asked if I felt safe. They only cared about Darren facing consequences. Officer Bennett glanced at my phone, vibrating nonstop. Family pressure is common, she said. Doesn't change the law. I nodded, swallowing a lump in my throat. I just didn't think they'd turn on me this fast. She closed her notebook. Sometimes doing the right thing makes people show their true colors. That hit me harder than I expected. By the end of the hour, my official statement was filed. My car was listed in the system. A bolo was issued. And I was left sitting on the curb beside an empty parking spot, feeling the weight of an entire family pressing against me yet for the first time. I didn't cave, because choosing myself wasn't selfish. It was survival. Officer Bennett called me at 4:07 p.m. We located your vehicle, she said. My heart kicked hard in my chest, where your brother was pulled over for a traffic violation. When the officer ran the plates, the vehicle came up as stolen. For a moment, everything around me went silent. The office chatter, the printers, the phones. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. Was he arrested? I asked quietly. Yes, she replied. He's in custody now. The vehicle has been impounded as evidence. You can pick it up tomorrow after processing. I closed my eyes and exhaled. Thank you, but peace lasted exactly 6 seconds. My phone rang again. Unlisted number. I answered. Morgan. It was my father. Voice booming. Furious. Do you have any idea what you've done? Darren is in jail. He stole my car. I said calmly. Actions have consequences. He didn't know. We told him you said yes. He has a phone. I replied. Funny how he didn't call to check. Isn't it? There was a long pause. Then he snapped. If you don't drop this, you're destroying this family. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't apologize the way I used to. Instead, I said, Dad, you destroyed it the moment you decided my hard work meant less than Darren's wants. I hung up, blocked the number. Seconds later, another call. Then another. And another. 16 calls within 30 minutes from every branch of my family tree telling me I was wrong. Heartless. Selfish. Not one person asked if I was okay. Not one person offered me a ride home. Not one person cared that I was the one who'd had something stolen from me. I sat at my desk, trying to breathe. Marisa, my coworker, approached with a cup of coffee and the softest eyes I'd seen all day. I heard what happened. She said, Are you okay? That one question, those 4 simple words, nearly broke me. I reported my brother for auto theft. I whispered. And my whole family hates me for it. Marissa didn't hesitate. Good. I blinked. Good. Yes, she said firmly. He stole your car. What else were you supposed to do? Let him walk all over you, like everyone else does. I looked down at my shaking hands. And if your family can't understand that, then that's their problem. Not yours. Her words steadied me more than she knew. That evening, before leaving the office, I checked my phone again. More missed calls from relatives. More guilt trips. More demands. But I didn't answer a single one, because for the first time in my life, I realized something. Standing up for yourself feels lonely at first, but it's the only path that leads to freedom. My grandmother was the only person I hadn't blocked. So when I heard a knock on my apartment door that evening, I already knew who it was. I opened it to find her standing there with her purse clutched tight against her chest. Eyes worried. Voice trembling. "Morgan." "Sweetheart, we need to talk." I stepped aside. "Come in." Grandma. She sat on the edge of my couch like she was afraid to sink too deep. Afraid to get too comfortable in the home of the granddaughter, currently ruining the family. She didn't waste time. "Your brother is in jail." "I know," I said quietly. "I'm the one who reported the theft." She flinched slightly, as if hearing the truth spoken plainly was painful. "Felix, your parents, everyone is devastated." "I'm sure they are," I said. "They're finally facing consequences." She wrung her hands. "Morgan, he's your brother, and I'm their daughter," I replied. "But that hasn't mattered for a very long time." Her eyes softened with confusion. "What do you mean?" So I told her. I told her about every birthday Darren ruined that my parents forgave instantly. Every bill of his they paid. Every mess of his they cleaned up. Every lecture I received about being more responsible while Darren wrecked cars. Lost jobs. And blamed everyone but himself. I told her about every time I succeeded and got silence. And every time Darren failed and got comfort. I told her how my parents didn't even ask if I was okay when they gave away the car I worked years to pay off. By the time I finished, my voice was shaking. But not with anger, with exhaustion. Grandma stared at her hands. "I didn't know it was so bad." "Of course you didn't," I said softly. "No one did. Because everyone only ever worried about Darren. How he felt. What he needed. What was easiest for him." Her eyes filled with tears. "What do you want?" "Sweetheart," I inhaled slowly, the kind of breath you take before saying something you've needed to say your entire life. "I want Darren to face consequences for once. Real consequences. And I want Mom and Dad to admit they were wrong. And if they don't, then I'll testify." I said simply, "I'll hand over every message, every statement, every piece of evidence. I'm done sacrificing myself for a family that never once sacrificed for me." Grandma's throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. "You'd send your brother to prison." I lifted my gaze and met hers. "No. Grandma. His actions sent him there. I'm just refusing to save him from them." Silence settled around us heavy. Trembling. Honest. For the first time in years, I felt free saying those words. "Before we move on, I want to thank you for staying with me through this deeply emotional moment. If any part of this hits close to your own experiences, your kind support through a like, a comment, a share, or even a gentle subscribe truly means so much to me. Thank you for being here with me." 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a call from an unfamiliar number. "This is Attorney Collins," the man said. "I'm representing your brother. We'd like to discuss a plea offer." I leaned back in my chair. "I'm listening." "Darren is willing to plead guilty to unauthorized use of a vehicle, misdemeanor, 6 months probation, restitution for impound fees, 1 year driving suspension." My chest rose and fell slowly. "And what about my parents? They claimed they believed you had given permission." "There's not enough evidence to pursue charges unless you want to push separately." I closed my eyes for a moment. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability and clarity. I'll accept the deal, on one condition, I said. What condition? Darren has to read a statement in court admitting what he did was theft. Out loud. Not whispered. Not mumbled. Clear enough for the judge to hear. The lawyer paused. I'll inform him. 2 weeks later. I walked into the courthouse. The space smelled like paper and nervous sweat. Rows of wooden benches. A judge with tired eyes. Lawyers flipping through files. My parents sat beside Darren, flanking him like bodyguards. They didn't look at me. Didn't even blink in my direction. I took my seat alone. When the case number was called, Darren shuffled forward. Shoulders rounded. Jaw clenched. He held a sheet of paper creased. Wrinkled. Anger pressed into every fold. The judge nodded. Mr. Hale. You may read your statement. Darren cleared his throat. His eyes never lifted to meet mine. Darren Hale, admit that I took my sister Morgan's vehicle without permission. I knew the car was not mine. I knew I didn't have her consent. I took it because I wanted it. What I did was theft. I'm sorry. The words sounded rehearsed. Hollow. Forced. But they were on record. In front of a judge. In front of everyone. My father stared straight ahead. Jaw tight. My mother gripped her purse so hard her knuckles whitened. Neither of them looked at me. Neither of them apologized. The judge accepted the plea. And just like that it was done. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt nothing dramatic. No burst of triumph. No satisfaction. Just clarity. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself and the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. No one swooped in to save Darren. No excuses. No special treatment. Consequences finally landed where they belonged. And I realized something. Peace isn't loud. It's quiet. Stable. A slow breath after years of holding one in. And God. It felt good. The morning I picked up my car from the impound lot. It felt like reclaiming a piece of myself I didn't know I had lost. The Civic was dusty. The battery slightly drained. And a faint smell of fast food lingered inside, but it was mine. Mine again. When I placed my hand on the steering wheel, something in my chest loosened. Not because the car was special, or expensive, or a symbol of status, but because it represented every hour I had worked, every shift I'd endured, every sacrifice I had made for myself. I drove home with the windows down, letting cold autumn air wash over me. For the first time in weeks, my phone was silent. No more frantic calls, no guilt-tripping texts, no accusations, just quiet. A quiet that felt like freedom. That afternoon, an envelope slid under my apartment door. No return address. No handwriting I recognized. I opened it carefully. Inside was a short letter. From Darren. Morgan. I'm sorry. Really sorry. I know you don't owe me anything, and I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was wrong. Not just about the car, about everything. I hope one day I can prove I'm not the person I used to be. I read it twice. Then a third time. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't eloquent. But it was honest. The first honest thing he'd said to me in years. I placed the letter in a drawer. Not forgiven, but not forgotten. Healing wasn't a straight line. And I knew that. But this was a start. What I didn't get, however, was a call from my parents. No apology. No acknowledgement. Not even a half-hearted "we love you." Just silence. Silence that told me everything I needed to know. I didn't cry. I didn't ache. Instead, I made dinner, turned on some music, and sat in my apartment, the one I paid for, the one I maintained, the one they said I couldn't manage without their help. And for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't need their approval to breathe. I didn't need their praise to exist. I didn't need their acceptance to feel whole. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by boundaries and who respects them, by love and who offers it without conditions, by safety and who gives it without asking for repayment. And my parents had never given me any of those things. A year later, my life looked different, steady, quiet. Mine. A reliable job, a small promotion, a savings account growing slowly but proudly, a car parked exactly where it belonged. Sometimes I'd catch myself thinking about the past, about who I used to be when confrontation terrified me, when guilt controlled me, when I believed I didn't deserve to take up space. But that girl is gone now. I locked my car one crisp morning, slung my bag over my shoulder, and started walking toward my future, one I built with my own hands. One step at a time. And I didn't look back. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of my story. If any part of my journey resonates with something you've lived through, your gentle support through a comment, a share, or even a quiet subscribe truly means so much to me. I'm deeply grateful you were here.